in my book, he's the greatest United States champion in WWE history. Then you have Shelton Benjamin, who is a multiple-time tag team champion, former Intercontinental champion, former United States champion. And he's another guy that really has established himself and is very well known in the WWE fandom. And then you got Bobby Lashley. I mean, for crying out loud, he was the man that Donald Trump picked for his choice
WWE
in the Battle of the Billionaires at WrestleMania.
And president.
He's a former ECW World Champion. He's a former Intercontinental Champion. He's a former
current U.S. champion.
Yes, it's gone. It's already over. There he goes.
Yeah.
There's a seeing eye single to right.
Yep.
It's never going to happen. I'm never going to not brainless myself. I got it out of the way, so now I feel good. But,
all right.
I mean, all those guys really have established themselves. Yes, they're still trying to form.
Well, they have established the group.
Yeah, and they're doing good. They're doing wonderful things. I love the Hurt Business. They're my favorite thing on Monday Night Raw right now.
I love that they went to Raw Underground, beat the crap out of everybody. That was great. I think pretty soon they're going to finish this thing off with Apollo Crews and Ricochet and move on to other things. Well, I mean, obviously, they got two things going on right now where they've got that and Retribution. Mm-hmm. So,
but anyway, that's what's going on Raw. So one thing I did want to bring up, and every once in a while on this podcast, we have to start on a somber note. As we found out this week that WWE Hall of Famer and one half of, without question, the greatest tag team of all time, Joe Laurinaitis, a.k.a. Animal from the Legion of Doom, passed away at 60. And it was just sad and very I got a little emotional. I really don't, in situations especially with wrestling, even I got a little emotional because, first Hulk Hogan came out and tweeted out the Animal had passed. And everybody's like, what the hell is going on? Why did Hulk Hogan send this? And it's Hulk Hogan's 8 million years old and he has no idea where he is, brother. But he tweeted that out, and then the floodgates opened up and everybody started pouring out their support for everything. And, his family had went on his Twitter and said that, they confirmed that he had passed and everything. And, after a few hours and I was home and I'm like, I wonder what really happened to him. So I went on there to see if they announced anything. And come to realize that he basically passed away on his anniversary with his wife. And I'm like, I was devastated just reading that. And from what they've been saying is he passed away from natural causes. They don't have an exact cause for what he had ultimately led to his demise, but it was natural causes. And I'm very sad, very sad day.
And the thing with the Road Warriors, Legion of Doom, whatever you want to call, whatever you remember them as, they had a presence about them because of their size, their look. I mean, having shoulder pads with spikes on it, and I mean
the face paint. One of them had a mohawk. The other one had the double bar.
Well, and that was the thing with that was when you put the two of them together,
it formed one.
Yeah. It formed one. So that was the whole idea of that.
Coming out in motorcycles and just the Legion of Doom were just so advanced as a tag team in the industry. They are one of those tag teams that could have. Oh, excuse me, I apologize. They were one of those tag teams that definitely could have transitioned to this day and age as a tag team because they were, like you said, a couple of bigger dudes, but they could move and they were very strong and they were very good in the ring. I mean,
the thing was with them is they were super stiff, but that's why their stuff looked good because it was stiff. One thing Colt Cabana always has said on his podcast, he was you're stiff because you care. More or less, you're giving the business the respect by being stiff, by making it look as real as possible. And I mean, that's why, I have so much respect for the wrestlers who go into the ring and do their thing because, they're putting their bodies on the line. And when you're stiff, again, part of it is you want to make this thing look as real as possible. And when, when you're dealing with somebody like the Road Warriors, it's they're stiff and it looks real. And that was part of, I think, they're like, it was part of the allure for me, like seeing like they looked like legit ass kickers, and it felt like when they were in the ring, it was a fight, a real fight that would break out. I mean, the matches between them and the Steiners back in the like early '90s, it's like I can only imagine how many bumps and bruises those dudes had at the end of those matches, because both teams were known for being stiff and legit badasses, because I think both the Road Warriors were bouncers for a time, and both the Steiners were legit shoot wrestlers, and they were just known for being stiff. But like I'm sad that we no longer have either of the Road Warriors with us.
What really like attracted me to the Legion of Doom was the shoulder pads, because I thought it was really cool that they had the shoulder pads with the spikes sticking out of them and everything, and they had the base paint. They just look really fucking badass, and it's like everybody gravitated towards the Legion of Doom. And I will say this, I know a lot of people out there have like different Rushmores when it comes to like just singles competitors, whether you have Hulk Hogan or The Rock or whoever.
But if you're talking tag teams,
if
there is not a Mount Rushmore. It's the Legion of Doom and everybody else. Nothing against the Dudley Boys. I know they won more championships, but like,
I was going to say that if you're going to do it for like a tag team, Rushmore, the Legion of Doom should be the first tag team out of your mouth, no matter what. I know that there's certain people that have like an affinity towards different tag teams, like whether it's me with the Dudley Boys or if it's like Big C who has an affinity towards the Midnight Express. And then there's people out there who would say like the Hart Foundation, or they would say even like now with the Usos and stuff like that. But like the first tag team that should come out of your mouth in a tag team Rushmore is the Legion of Doom. I mean, between Hawk Animal and Precious Paul, I'm like, there's no bigger name as a tag team in the wrestling industry than the Legion of Doom. And like they said in the dark side of the ring that they did, they had Road Warrior Pop, which is like that music would hit and that place would fucking go nuts. And it was the loudest reaction that anybody would ever get. And they would say that it was LOD Pop. And it's just, it really is sad. I mean, we lost Hawk all those years ago because he had all those demons with the alcohol and the drugs and everything.
Well, and the thing with Hawk is, like, I think at that point he has actually cleaned his life up. I think it was similar to what happened with Eddie Guerrero, that he had abused his body so much that his heart just was like, sorry, man, can't do it anymore.
Right.
I'm done. And, it's just tragic that all so many of the wrestlers that we grew up with die so young. I mean, 60's not super young, but it's not.
I mean,
it's not old.
I mean, we've lost quite a few wrestlers over the years, and they're like their 30s and 40s. If you think about it, Mr. Perfect was in his early 40s. Rick Rude was in his early 40s. Eddie Guerrero was 38 when he passed away. And it's just crazy, just like you said, with all these people.
Davey Boy Smith.
Was the one who I actually thought of and then lost for like half a second. But it's like,
even Vader. Vader wasn't that old.
No, Vader.
He was in his 60s, but yeah. So many of these guys just, But what can you do? But what? Certainly super sad to. With Animal's passing. And like the thing with the Road Warriors, like I don't think they had, one specific team that was like their main nemesis. I think the closest you could come up with is Tully and Arn, like, because they had the feud with the Four Horsemen.
Yep.
Obviously, they also were known for having that moment with the spike in Dusty Rhodes and blinding him. But like they didn't really have just one team. They lasted so long as a tag team that they had like dozens of teams. Like I remember their feud against the Skyscrapers in the early 90s. They had a feud against Doom. They had a feud against the Nasty Boys, the Natural Disasters, Money Inc. I mean, the list goes on and on of teams that they had feuds with and had good feuds with, but like they didn't have just one team that you're like going, oh yeah, that was their main rival. Like with the Hardy brothers, their main rival, Edge and Christian,
right, or the Dudleys. With like the Usos, it's the New Day.
Like you have that one signature thing, but the Road Warriors were so like such a thing that they
were just an entity.
Everywhere. I mean, Midnight Express, Rock and Roll Express, even though like those teams had notable feuds with the LOD. So, but definitely. So one other story I do want to share is like right before WWE, at the time WWF was about to implement like a policy about like no drugs and what have you. All the boys went out with Vince McMahon for one last hurrah before the policy was going to get implemented. Apparently, all sorts of copious amounts of drugs and alcohol were taken that night. Vince McMahon decided that he was going to take finishing moves. That's how like out of his freaking mind that he was. LOD ended up in a bar, putting the chairman of the board on on Animal's shoulders, and they did the demolition device to Vince McMahon. Doomsday device.
Wow.
No, whatever. But I love that story. The Hart Foundation also did the heart attack to Vince McMahon that night.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can only imagine seeing that debauchery in person and having lived that. But the fact that LOD did that to Vince McMahon is kind of funny.
One of my personal favorites, like especially with Animal of the Legion of Doom, is that he was a really good father. Everybody always talked about what a great father figure he was to his children. And one of his sons, James, actually played college football at the Ohio State University.
And became a pro.
Played for the Rams, and I believe he was with the Patriots for a bit of time too.
I believe you're correct.
And I remember because at the time back then, when they had the games on ABC for the big game, whether it was like Ohio State and Michigan, or if they did like Oklahoma and Oklahoma State or whatever it is, Precious Paul is actually still alive. Because as of recently, he managed the Authors of Pain a couple of years back, but he hasn't really done anything since. But Paul Ellering is actually still alive.
Yep.
But what they used to do was they used to get like either former alums or whoever to like announce like the starting lineups for all the teams. Well, when Ohio State was playing for one of those games, I just remember Brett Musburger going, and now we're going to have the father of All-American linebacker James Laurinaitis. His dad is going to announce the defense, the Animal, Joel Laurinaitis, and he was all decked out. He had the face paint on, the shoulder pads, and he was just like, he was Animal, man. Yeah. It was so cool. And for me, that's always one of those moments that will forever stick in my mind and in my heart when I talk about the Legion of Doom. And it's a really sad day that we lost the second member of one of the
preeminent tag team,
the most decorated, most famous tag team in the history of the industry, and I'm really sad to see him go.
Yeah.
But speaking of tag teams, we have one Nicholas up top and a Nicholas on the bottom. Tommy is F and Mark's Hall of Famer. Tommy is on through the Periscope, and Timmy is through the Facebook Live.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not a very common occurrence to have that happen.
Right? Yeah. So
kind of want to.
Hey, maybe we can convince the brother to join in too, Teddy. So.
Oh, maybe we can get him on the YouTube.
Right. There we go.
But anyway, so to liven it up, let's talk about something a little funny. Let's talk about Retribution.
This is almost as funny as The Great Gatsby.
Oh. I'm like SpongeBob SquarePants after that comment. All right, I'm head out of here. Oh, man.
Oh, so all right. Let's name these names.
Oh,
we've got Mace.
I remember him when he sang with Puff Daddy back in the 90s.
Yeah. Then we have
Ain't nothing changed but my name.
T-Bar.
Oh.
And then we have batting cleanup, Slapjack. The brainless one did some research this week on Urban Dictionary, and what Mace is straightforward. We don't need to go through that, but why don't you explain to the good folks out there what T-Bar means?
So T-Bar, hold on, give me a second. I have tears in my eyes right now. I cannot believe we're having this conversation. Oh my God. All right, so before I go into this whole T-Bar, Slapjack, and all that other shit, I just want you to know that I cannot believe it took us till episode 193 of this podcast for you and I to actually have to do research on Urban Dictionary for an episode of this show, of a wrestling show. But that just shows that Vince is fucking retarded. So for tickles and giggles this week, I decided to go on Urban Dictionary because for whatever reason it's one of my favorite websites to go on. And like I'm like, Mace is Mace, and like you can't really
It's Mace.
And Mace is Mace, and he has a paper plate for a mask. So I'm not even gonna bother looking it up
when you're lazy at catering
and there's an abundance of paper plates. Thank you for that one, CM Punk, actually. So T-Bar is when you're wearing a thong and a G-string and you sit down and it just kind of flops out. That's a T-Bar. I can't believe that between all of them, that's not even the worst description of what it is.
A T-bar is also a ski lift, but
My favorite was I was like, do you want to know what a T-bar is? He goes, T-bar is a ski lift. And I'm like, oh no, it's not just that. And then I told him what it was, and Jay laughed for about a good 20 minutes straight. And then you know,
but
and then
again, batting clean up. See what I did? Slapjack.
So Slapjack is when somebody pisses you off and you ejaculate in your hand, and with the remnants you slap them in the face. Yeah, this is real life, people. This isn't fantasy. Vince McMahon lives in a fantasy world where there's puppets and freaking fiends and monster among men. But now we have a Slapjack. So, anyway.
How can you overcome these names? See what I did there, too?
I mean, the fact that they took off the masks to reveal masks underneath is just...
It's pain. It's pain.
I don't even know which one of them I feel worse for. I think I've established that the person I feel worse for is Donovan Dijakovic. I thought it was Shane Thorne because he looked like Nicole's daughter actually cut up the mask and gave it to him, and he's wearing it. And that's what his mask looks like. Like Kingston cut the holes out of that. Are you gonna be okay?
I keep on thinking of the scene from Groundhog Day and some flapjacks, but I'm keeping up and some slapjacks.
So, yeah. So the fact that Shane Thorne is wearing a mask that a kindergarten class, basically the winner of the most iconic paper plate mask is the one that Shane Thorne got.
They cut in the lines. It was great.
So I mean that was embarrassing enough. But then Donovan Dijakovic announced to everybody what his name was. So the only one that actually comes out smelling like a rose and all this is Dio Madden, because I'm pretty sure he is Mace. I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure he's Mace.
Hey, it could get worse. What's Mia Yim's name gonna be?
There was speculation about her and Mercedes Martinez were gonna be, and it's like I don't even remember what the hell it was, and I'm like, that's not terrible. I'm like, but she's Mia Yim. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, I mean, you were just talking about how they had that one last hurrah with drugs. Are you sure? You sure it wasn't in like creative when they were like, here?
No, that's Michael P.S. Hayes. He's still.
Oh, of course, he's fucking coked out. He's been fucking high off coke, and he hasn't even probably done this shit in like 12 years.
12? Might even be 30. But
oh my God,
he's still coked out from Clash 13.
That's not saying much. But like, I can't. Just we've been waiting for so long for them to finally get to the point where we were going to find out who the members of Retribution are, and then they do the unmasking, and they're like this. They're wearing like the 5 shittiest masks that they could. I'm sorry, the 4 shittiest masks that they could find at
in a paper plate
at the Halloween store. And because they can only find 4 masks, they went to Shane Thorne and said, "Here's a paper plate. Have at it, boss. Have one of your kids do it, or we're just going to have a kindergarten class have a contest, and that's." The least shittiest mask is going to be yours. And it's like, how can we make this any worse? Oh, I know. We're going to call one of them T-Bar.
Yeah.
And Slapjack. And just...
All right, Aiden's asking us for predictions. I mean, we kind of have to go through this stuff that happened on Raw, including this Retribution thing.
I think I'm done with the Retribution thing, just because for 2 reasons. Number one, I could spend an entire episode talking about this. And number 2, if we keep talking about Retribution,
I'm not going to stop laughing.
You might wet your pants.
I may.
And I'm not. And that's not a mess I feel like cleaning up. So
we can try to run through everything. I would say the important things that happened on Raw and SmackDown that are leading to tonight's card and get to tonight's card. But so
whatever you want to do, Slapjack.
Yeah.
One more thing before I get to this. So Aaron Rift of NoDQ.com has been going out on Twitter, and he's been saying, "Hey, wait a minute." He's like, "I've been known as T-Bar longer than T-Bar has." And sure as shit, his middle name on his driver's license is T-Bar.
Hey, he could sue WWE.
I hope he does.
Yeah.
I mean, they got enough money. And then T-Bar would be something a little bit less offensive. Maybe they'll go on Urban Dictionary and find something else that they want to name him after. I'm just waiting because like what's going to happen? Like let's say I'm not done having fun with this. You know what? Fuck this. I'm not done having fun with this. This is
all right.
Game over now.
All right, you keep going. I'm just going to reply to him on the Facebooks directly here. So have fun.
So
have fun.
So let's say for whatever reason they decide to have like Humberto Carrillo join the Retribution. Are they going to call him Dirty Sanchez? I mean, seriously. I mean, what other freaking?
Can Dolph Ziggler be Cleveland Steamer?
Oh God, that would almost killed me. Oh Lordy, that's fantastic. Oh man. I mean, seriously, did they just come up with like the shittiest names they can think of? And now it's like they gave the guys names like maybe we're gonna hold off on the girls for like a week and see what kind of reaction we get. Or as Al Bundy once said in an episode, let's put it in an oven and see if it bakes.
I mean, is this gonna be like the Viking experience all over again? Where like they're like going, all right, maybe we messed up with the names. We need to give them a new name immediately.
I feel bad for Donovan Dijakovic and Dio Madden. It's like you have an opportunity to give these guys something different. Give them a gimmick in a stable that would work, and something that can help establish themselves at the main roster after what they've done. Mainly Dijakovic down at NXT, and like Dio Madden, who everybody knows is the guy who was on Raw earlier this year and got replaced by basically Samoa Joe and all that stuff. And it's just, you had an opportunity. I don't get why they did it this way. I really don't. I'm puzzled. I'm befuddled. I'm dumbfounded. You name other adjectives that I am, and that's what I am. And
yeah.
So I think I can't. I don't think my chest can actually handle freaking slapjacking, because I know my face couldn't.
Yeah.
No, that was.
Yeah.
So we gotta. So you want to get into a little bit of stuff that happened this week? You want to just knock AEW out of the way real quick? So I just touched on the important stuff that happened on AEW this week.
Sure.
And then we'll go into like Raw and SmackDown. That'll lead to us talking about Clash of the Champions 13 tomorrow.
All right. Yeah, we'll briefly get into like the important stuff that happened. So we had the returning Cody Rhodes this week. Brody Lee had a TNT Championship match. He defeated Orange Cassidy. Yeah. Pretty good match. Not a bad place for Orange Cassidy to be after his feud with Jericho. But on the losing end against Brody Lee, but Cody Rhodes comes out at the end and
beats up number 19 and 37 of the Dark Order or whatever the fucking numbers they were.
Yeah,
that was the funniest part about that was they were like, and Cody's beating up 5, and I'm like, how do you know which one is
one is
what?
5? Yeah,
I'm like, it's not like they have like name tags that says, "Hello, my name is 5."
But hey. Cody returned. He once again has the dark hair. He still has the stupid neck tattoo.
The worst tattoo I've ever seen in my entire life. I'm sorry. I don't even care. And I've seen a lot of tattoos.
But you know what? Like, I'll still say it. He is the biggest baby face on the roster because whenever he's come out, whenever they've had a crowd, he has by far gotten the biggest reaction. I'm sure it's just because it's because of him and the Young Bucks that AEW happens, but I think that's mostly him.
Wrong. If it wasn't for Vince McMahon, AEW never would have happened. If it wasn't for the fact that Vince McMahon was stupid and let Cody Rhodes just kind of like fester into oblivion in the mid card instead of giving him an opportunity to be a big star like he deserved to be in. I think that's the reason why we ended up getting AEW. I'm kind of like, it's one of those like bittersweet things. It's like, yes, I would have liked to have seen Cody get more of a push when he was in WWE, but I love the fact that there is another alternative in the wrestling industry for us to watch wrestling each and every week. And, because if it wasn't for AEW, Moxley would still be freaking. I'm still be
fine.
I think Moxley would still be Dean Ambrose and miserable in WWE.
But we would not get something like fucking Eddie Kingston.
We wouldn't get Orange Cassidy.
So, but Cody returns. Cody returns and looks like a badass and beat the crap out of number 5 and made him tap out to the figure 4 leg lock. And then that led to Brody Lee with a very impassioned promo. And it looks like we're about to get a dog collar match between he and Cody. I love, though, that he said it's going to cover up that stupid ass tattoo. But him bringing up hey, you see what I did to your brother? You see what I did to your wife? I thought it was great that they brought all this stuff into this storyline, and I'm looking forward to the dog collar match. Like he more or less said, like, "Hey, I'm giving you 1 week to respond to my challenge." Of course, Cody's going to respond and say yes. So,
yes, I am truly brainless.
The brainless one finds new ways to brainless things, but
I might drop in there, Jay.
Yeah. But Tony Brown Snow, if you want to look at the whole like wrestling scene nationally, like you could say without Vince McMahon, none of this happens. Because if wrestling wasn't as broad of an appeal, then we wouldn't have wrestling on TV, or at least it wouldn't be on national TV. Back in the 80s, it was Vince who expanded out to the cable markets. I know AWA did some of that. NWA did some of that. But NWA was more like the Superstation TBS, which had a pretty broad reach. But it was Vince McMahon and his national expansion that, made it wrestling, not so regional. And but that's what created the explosion of people who actually made this happen. But to the brainless one's point, though, it's if Cody did not become so disillusioned with WWE, he wouldn't have gone on the independent circuit and said, you know what, I've got a different idea for wrestling, gets in contact with Tony Khan, and ends up like, hey, will you fund this thing? And they sat there, and he put his money where his mouth was, and sold out a 10,000 plus seat arena without the Khans. Like before the Khans invested their money into creating AEW, they he and the Young Bucks put on a show and sold out an arena, but it was that disillusionment with WWE. Cody, before he left, I think he said he had a conversation with Triple H and said, hey, I'm ready to be a main event player. I think I've laid the bricks. I've laid the foundation. I've been here long enough. It's time to give me my shot. And more or less was told, yeah, we don't really see that for you. Between that and the fact that they they screwed us over in the fact that we did not get a Rhodes versus Rhodes at WrestleMania match. Yeah. But thankfully we ended up getting it, a couple of years later, and we had the two of them.
A 5-star match.
It was the match of the year for me. It was freaking great match. And like, all right, WWE, because you didn't do that, you made this match happen. Fucking A, man.
Yeah, man. But it's like, Vince McMahon being stuck in his ways is the reason why AEW has the capability of being successful. It's because of the fact that he didn't see anything in Cody Rhodes. It's the fact that he watered down John Moxley. It's the fact that he he wanted to treat Brody Lee from New York as a country bumpkin. It's the fact that he he didn't see anything with the Revival other than like, let's just try to make some funny shit with them. He didn't see the potential.
Rusev.
Yeah, he didn't see the potential in Rusev. And like a man who was #1 selling in merchandise on the website, which is the most important thing, because at the end of the day, it's all about making Vince McMahon money. Rusev Day was the most over thing since Daniel Bryan's Yes Movement. And, Vince McMahon being stupid and stubborn because it's like, oh, I got to get the big dog over because he's related to The Rock. And it's such good shit, pal. Although I'm going to say this right now, Roman Reigns right now back as a heel is the best thing that they've done right in the last few years. And he's so good at it too. Because it just seemed like when he was a face, he was trying to be cool and trying to be like the superhero that kids need to look up to. And it's like, no, he can be a badass, not have to talk so much and just be a dick, and it's going to work. It's a lot harder, and I for one can confirm this. It's a lot harder to be nice than it is to be an asshole, because being an asshole just comes second nature to some people. Right. And I think that with him transitioning into that, I think that was a smart move. But in regards to like other thing in WWE, and the reason why Vince is the reason for AEW is just remember Stardust. That's all there is to it.
Yeah,
because he just wanted to drop it, and they were like, no, we don't want that. And he was like, all right, I want out of my contract. And like you said, that's what ended up him going to the independency. That's what got him to go to New Japan. That's where he got into contact with the Young Bucks and that fucking overrated piece of shit, number 14 out of 500 wrestlers. Even though 13. Dave Meltzer, 13, 14, what difference does it fucking make?
Puke,
whatever. The fact that I'm the greatest wrestler in the universe, but I was number 13 or 14 in the PWI thing. How about the fact that a 50-year-old man was rated higher than you were, huh? Kenny Omega, you fucking overrated piece of shit. How about you and Meltzer just go and meet each other up and jerk each other off? Fucking dick. Anyway,
that's weekly Omega rant.
That's just basically. It's a rant. It's either Kevin Owens, Kenny Omega, or freaking Nia Jax.
We could get all those in this week.
We are going to probably end up getting them all in this week, except for that cat. Oh, wait, hold on. So at Clash of Champions, they're doing a cupcake championship match. Oh, Kevin Owens is going to win that one, hands down. There's no competition. They're going to be like, in this contest is scheduled, and Kevin Owens is going to go out there and get all the fucking cupcakes.
Wait. What if they have a surprise return and it's Cassius Ohno versus Kevin Owens in a cupcake eating contest?
There's not enough time in the pay-per-view for them to finish all the cupcakes.
Well, it'd be like Homer Simpson
Yeah.
in hell with the donuts.
Yes.
And they run out of
Exactly what
donuts.
it is.
More. Yeah.
Well, don't eat brown snow. I gotta live the gimmick because it's not just a gimmick; it's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
And my disdain and hatred towards Kenny Omega is very palpable each and every week.
Yeah. All right. So, slightly segueing here is we did have Hangman Page go against Evil Uno this week, and Hangman Page was victorious with the buckshot lariat, continuing what will be eventually a match between he and Kenny Omega.
Yes.
And I'm going to guess it's going to be at their next pay-per-view because they've been doing a slow burn with this thing for a while. With a few weeks ago when they lost to FTR and it looked like Omega was about to blast Hangman with the chair, and he didn't. Eventually, he is going to blast Hangman with whether it's a chair or something else. It probably should be like a beer bottle, based off of the storyline that they've been telling. So, and with the fact that they have that bar within like Daly's place.
Yeah.
And I think somebody was actually saying that Governor DeSantis in Florida is lifting like all restrictions, which
That is the dumbest fucking thing.
it is, but that means that there could be definitely more fans between Jacksonville Jaguar games.
Because that's
and specifically, people can start now probably show up at the Amway Arena if they want to. I think WWE is probably not going to have fans, but it seems like AEW is a little bit more about having fans. But I think AEW also is not going to sit there and we're going to jam pack this arena with people. I think that AEW is going to kind of use some wisdom here and maybe have it 25 or 35% capacity. So good on them to be able to at least have the opportunity to make a little bit more money than just what they get from their TV contracts.
I think it's kind of stupid because who is the last? When we think of states in the United States, and if there's anybody tuning in right now, I apologize in advance. This is just how the rest
Florida
of the
is on the stupid news almost every day.
It's usually when the story starts, Florida man or Florida woman, it's going to be funny and stupid. Like I already have to expect it to that point. But so the fact that and they're like, oh yeah, DeSantis is going to lift all the shit. I'm like, that's good because no state in the country has had more deaths from COVID than the state of Florida.
That's not true.
That's what I thought I read.
I'm pretty sure it's California or New York.
Probably New York.
So,
but hey, Florida's still stupid.
They are. It's weird. I know a lot of smart people from Florida, but they're like going, there's just something about the people down there. So, yeah.
Florida's had more deaths from people getting eaten by alligators, though.
Mikey, I think that would be great. James Storm going to AEW and be with Hangman Page. I think that would be a match made in heaven.
Then they'd have to get Bobby Roode so they could have a really good freaking drinking competition between the three of them.
But that was part of the thing. Roode was supposed to be the straight-laced dude, and Storm was supposed to be the beer-drinking butt kicker. But you get Hangman Page, the drinker, with James Storm, the drinker, and have Stone Cold be the head of the faction.
What?
So.
And have Chris Jericho be a part of it? Because I know Jericho could hold his liquor. So did John Cena, surprisingly.
Yeah, he drank
Jericho
under the table and was still drinking in the morning as he was watching Jericho from his hotel room.
I don't think that a lot of people give John Cena the credit that he deserves. I think that he got a lot of vitriol from a lot of people. But anyway, speaking of Eddie Kingston got himself an AEW World Heavyweight title match this week on Dynamite.
And he specifically stated, hey, I was never eliminated from, the Battle
Royale.
So I deserve my shot. Similar to Curtis Axel, who deserved a shot at the world title but never got it. But Eddie Kingston did get his shot because he was not eliminated.
I'm going to say this. Eddie Kingston is one of my favorites on the microphone.
And he came out here and absolutely blitzed John Moxley like, Kingston starts off saying, hey, for a long time, you and I, Moxley, were cut from the same cloth. But then you sold your soul and became a sports entertainer. And then he was like going, come on, sports entertainer, come out here and let's go. I need to see you face to face.
I loved every second of that.
So good. So good.
I hate to say it, but Eddie Kingston looks like a guy that I would hang out with.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. It's just something about it. I was like, yeah, I can see myself hanging out with Eddie Kingston on like a regular basis, like going, hanging out, drinking, smoking pot, shoving $37 worth of Taco Bell down our throats.
Sure.
And playing video games.
And that did eventually lead. That they had their match later on in the night. We'll get to that in a second. One thing that Don't Eat Brown Snow brought up is he believed that James Storm is signed with NWA, and obviously we've seen a bit of a cross between NWA people and people going to AEW. One thing I'll state here is somebody questioned whether or not NWA Power was ever coming back, and the NWA champion, Nick Aldis, actually said, things are happening. I can't say anything, but it sounds like NWA Power will be on its way back. He didn't say timetable, didn't say anything else, but NWA Power will be a thing again at some point. So
it's going to be interesting to see what happens with NWA Power because of the fact that they lost Eddie Kingston. Thunder
Rosa is still posing as the NWA Women's Champion.
I guess that she actually worked something out with Billy Corgan and Tony Khan so that she could actually work both promotions. I could see a situation where NWA and AEW kind of join and do like a partnership type of thing. Because, they got Eddie Kingston. They got, what's the other dude's name? That he had that moment on Wednesday. Oh, for the love of me. I can't remember what the hell the dude's name is. I'm terrible with names. But it's like, they lost Wade Barrett to, coming back to NXT and everything. And it's like, they still got pieces still there. They still got Damian Sandow and Kenny Anderson and, James Storm.
But the main thing here is that NWA Power is going to come back.
Yeah.
So
it's just gonna be interesting to see what happens going forward with them, though. That's all, because they lost a few people.
So beyond that, so we had Miro, aka the former Rusev, making his in-ring debut, and it was he and Kip Sabian going against Joey Janela and Sonny Kiss. This match was like a botch fest. It was not very good, but in the end, we did have Miro winning this match as he should have, and he what the heck are they calling it now? The former Accolade, but he I forget the new name of the move, but yeah, he won the match for his team. So. Good on them.
Miro Day.
That's right.
This doesn't have the same ring to it. I'm sorry.
It doesn't.
The game over.
Game over. There we go. Boom.
Speaking of Miro, real quick. So he did an interview earlier this week, and they asked him about how he felt about getting released from WWE. Like if he was bitter, and he goes, "I'm not bitter about my release from WWE." He goes, "If anything, he goes, I got to do something that I love to do for a long time." He goes, if it wasn't for WWE, I never would have met my wife. I never would have had the friends that I had. And most importantly, he's like, I never would have gotten the fan base that I actually developed just from that whole Rusev Day thing. He goes, strictly from the fact that I just met my wife in WWE is the main reason why I will never be bitter with WWE. And just everything else just kind of came about. And I think that's the best way that he could have handled that situation. Because it seems like a lot of the guys that are coming in there are airing out their dirty laundry about.
Well, and he did a bit how he was upset with things, but his wife also paid a price again. Once again this week, she went through a table. Once again this week, it's like, good job, Vincent, continuing to be a little bit petty about this whole thing.
I'm shocked. Wait, see, this is my shocked face. It's no different from any other face, because that's how unshocked I am.
Right. Vader makes that face, too.
Thanks. Wait, Darth Vader?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I mean, nothing against Big Van Vader, but I'd rather be compared to Darth than Van.
Right. All right. So one thing not completely surprising, I guess, but a little surprising is we did have Ivelisse sharing a ring once again with Thunder Rosa. So whatever things were between them couldn't have been too bad. But Thunder Rosa and Hikaru Shida went against Ivelisse and Diamante,
who were the winners of the women's tournament that they had just recently. I forget what the name of the tournament was, but they had a tournament of all the women tag teams and everything.
So Shida and Rosa go over.
I mean, you kind of have to because,
Well, they're both champions right now, and eventually I think this is going to lead to another match between the two of them. So then we had this, I love this segment between Jericho and MJF. It was hilarious, and like they sat there and they start off complimenting each other, and then they kind of get upset with each other, and then they explain like, "Oh, wait, you did. Oh, that's what you meant. You didn't call me a loser. You were calling the limo driver a loser." And oh, and then by the end they're like, "I kind of like you."
I love those two. MJF does remind me of a younger Chris Jericho. Because if you remember, like when Jericho was in, obviously because you were a big WCW fan back in the day and everything, like how Chris Jericho was as a character and everything. Because Chris Jericho, for the entire time, could talk. He was always a good talker. And MJF is right in that category. He's like a young Chris Jericho. And MJF can wrestle, Jericho can wrestle. So it's kind of like we're seeing like the master and now the
apprentice.
The apprentice kind of like, and I was just telling you before the show, I can see this lead to them having a match where Jericho puts over MJF to kind of like put MJF in a spot.
I think honestly, I think it's going to be a couple years before that match happens. That would be my guess, just based off of how slowly AEW builds these things and the fact that both of them right now are heels. I don't foresee Chris Jericho becoming a face anytime soon. MJF definitely is not going to become a face anytime soon. You could do heel versus heel, but I don't see them doing it. I can see them being a brief, like one-off tag team in the future. Mm-hmm. But right now, obviously, Jericho is concentrating with Jake Hager on being a tag team. Although next week we do have Jericho going against Isaiah Cassidy from the Private Party. So. And Jericho, part of this whole thing was them kind of building up towards next week's match.
Gotcha.
But so yeah, that's next week on Dynamite. And then our final segment was the match between Kingston and Moxley, and it was a fight.
It was a good fight.
I loved it. And them doing basically the WrestleMania 13 ending, except for without, all the blood in it not being a sharpshooter. But Kingston never got pinned, never submitted. He just got choked out by Moxley. But in the end with this, all sorts of shit goes down. Lucha Brothers come out. Mm-hmm. Ricky Starks come out. And then you have... Darby Allin come out with his skateboard and try to help out Moxley, who was getting beat down.
Ricky Starks was the one I couldn't think of.
And
Ricky Starks delivered a fucking spear and a half to Darby Allin, too. Like, that was one of the best spears. I mean, it put Edge's spear to shame. Hell, it might even put Goldberg's spear to shame.
I wouldn't go that
far. Oh, come on. Give the poor kid a chance. Give him a little rub for once.
No. It was better than Edge's and better than Roman Reigns. It was not better than the Gore, and it's not better than...
No, nothing's better than the Gore. Let's be serious.
No. Gilbert's spear is the best.
Right.
No, I'm more of a fan of the Goldberg spear from back in the 90s. The one he does now is still good, but he just, obviously he's older. He doesn't have the drive and the launch that he has, although Dolph Ziggler still made it look like the 90s spear, 2 years ago at SummerSlam.
Right.
So, but at the end, they basically beat the hell out of Moxley and Darby Allin here, so I'm guessing we're going to have a tag team match play between the Lucha Brothers and Moxley and Darby Allin somewhat soon, maybe even next week. So, That was AEW though this week. Good show.
Pretty solid show.
So they built towards things that are going to happen in the future, and we didn't really get too much Kenny Omega. So good for them.
Always a win.
All right. So Monday Night Raw this week. One thing that I want to touch on that was not involved with Clash of Champions. We did get Daba Kato going against Braun Strowman on Raw Underground, and they ended up the monster among men ended up going over in this match, and but you know, having Daba Kato not only here, but like one thing that they were doing to hype it earlier on is they had them on the KO show, and having him Daba Kato appear in front of live on Raw as opposed to Raw Underground. I think there are probably some people who are not into the Raw Underground stuff, so putting him in front of a little bit different of an audience, I guess. So
give him a little bit more exposure.
Exactly. So I thought that it was good that they did that to hype up the match for later. But it was a fun little brawl while it lasted, and him getting the rub of going against Braun Strowman, who was very recently the Universal Champion.
As crazy as it is, he
was
two champions. He was the champion 2 champions ago for Universal, and that was at SummerSlam. That's crazy to me.
So, but it was good having him in that, and we'll give him an opportunity to build.
Yeah,
so
of course.
So I kind of dug that. We've already gone over some of the Retribution stuff. One thing I don't understand with this damn storyline is they spent weeks with Adam Pearce trying to keep them out of the building and stop them from doing stuff. Why does WWE sign them to contracts? Why? Then they talk about signing contracts and then talk about we're not here for the money. It's like, why'd you sign a contract? Why didn't you just go and not make money and just beat everybody up? So there are some things storyline here that to me that are super wonky, and they obviously have a big hill to climb with their names. Hopefully they can come up with something better for the women in Retribution.
I think it was Slapjack. came out on Twitter because they're like, WWE just signed Retribution to contracts, and he goes, of course we signed contracts with WWE. It would have been cheaper for them to sign us to contracts than to keep paying for security that we were just going to beat the shit out of. Now our goal is to take out our employers, WWE, and I'm like,
so they can't make money, so you can't. They need to figure it out.
I feel like I'm watching Nelson Aguilar with the Eagles because they keep dropping the ball. And it's just terrible. I don't get what they're doing with this, and it's just between the names and the stupid masks and all this shit, and it's like, and then you sign them to contracts just like that. You should have had them build up to get those contracts and use that as part of the storyline.
See, like when they did the storyline with the Radicals, 20 years ago, it ended up making sense where Triple H hired them more or less to be mercenaries to take people out, and it was, I think, during the McMahon Helmsley era where they were in charge of Raw. So everything as far as signing them to contracts made sense.
Quickly, that was Malenko, Guerrero, Chris Benoit, and Perry Saturn, correct?
That is correct.
Was Moppy part of that?
Who?
Moppy.
No, Moppy was not part of that.
Damn, they missed out on that.
So
Perry Saturn, the most forgotten wrestler in the history of professional wrestling.
Right. All right. So then we had Andrade and Garza won a triple threat match to earn a shot at the Raw Tag Team Championships. We've seen this match with them in the Street Profits a lot lately. Obviously, there's dissension within Garza and Andrade, and they've more or less sent Zelina Vega on her way to be a single star at this point. And it's kind of like this just shows how poorly they built up the rest of this Raw Tag Team division.
It just proves that, like Seth Rollins said, Monday Night Raw has sucked.
So I'm not excited to see this match at all. They've done nothing to build
I mean,
towards this match.
The wrestling itself between the two teams
It's going to be fine.
Entertaining, but like storyline wise, it's fucking stupid. I really don't think. I think Bruce Pritchard is so far up freaking Brother Love's ass that he just doesn't know what the fuck he's doing anymore.
No, I think he's overwhelmed because he's creative for 2 shows, and Vince McMahon probably keeps him up 24 hours a day.
But SmackDown's not that bad though.
It's 2 hours.
Still, SmackDown's not terrible. I enjoy
because it's 2 hours versus 3 hours. You can concentrate yourself a bit more, and also I know Vince McMahon cares more right now about SmackDown because SmackDown is actually on a network where USA Network is, part of cable. And guess what? Not everybody has cable, or not everybody has, whether it's YouTube Live or whether it's like Hulu Live, to be able to get like the USA Network.
Right.
So, but if you have antenna on your TV, you could get Fox. So they have a capability of hitting a broader audience. So he cares more about SmackDown, and it's clear that he pays more attention to it. So, but even so, Raw being 3 hours, I mean, we've gone on that rant plenty of times. Anyway,
they should just have Underground be an hour every week then.
So we had Zelina Vega going against Mickie James for the #1 contendership for the women's title, which, I mean, Mickie lost like 2 weeks ago. Why is she getting another opportunity to go against Asuka? There are other women that they could probably put in there, but I mean, I guess they probably wanted to put Zelina in the match, and they probably wanted to have somebody that you could like go, well, she was a 6-time women's champion. All right, she beat a 6-time women's champion to get a shot, but
to get fed to Asuka.
And that's fine. But, we ended up having that match. Zelina Vega ends up winning, and she will have an opportunity this Sunday at Clash of Champions.
13.
Right. We did have Apollo Crews go against Cedric Alexander, and he ended up winning. Hurt Business ends up attacking and killing them all because he also had Ricochet with him. But Apollo Crews will have an opportunity to win back the U.S. title this Sunday, also at Clash of Champions. 13. Yeah, furthering this storyline.
I think we finally get the final blow off from that, though. I'm starting to think that the Hurt Business and Apollo Crews is going to be done.
Yeah, and then they're moving on to Retribution.
Right.
So, all right. So beyond that, we had Shayna and Nia Jax having a rematch against Natty and Lana for whatever reason.
To basically put Lana through another table.
And they did put the Riot Squad on commentary, and there was some pushing and shoving and that went on, and you kind of had the Riot Squad backing off because obviously they're a smaller team, but they certainly seemed a little bit scrappy. And then just to like go, all right, kind of like this is what's gonna happen to you, and puts Lana on her shoulders, and ironically did not injure Lana. It might be the safest thing they could do, but
Jay, saying anybody is the smaller team compared to any team that is associated with Nia Jax is just foolish. Because the only team that I could think about the top of my head, I was actually going to be more recent and said the Authors of Pain, but I mean the Natural Disasters work too. That are smaller, that are about the same size as them.
Right. Yeah.
So I really think that they just put that match together to just like they did. Deliver a message to the Riot Squad, but also send another message to Rusev.
Right.
Miro. I'm sorry. It's Miro Day.
Yeah.
Not Rusev Day anymore.
All right. So then we had Asuka going against Peyton Royce, which is a rematch from when we saw them at ODU a few years back. And I think they had Billy Kay in the corner of Peyton Royce, and that, continuing, that bit of the story. But Asuka winning by a DQ. That was actually a continuing theme this week. A lot of victory via DQ. But Asuka won because Zelina Vega attacked her in the middle of the match. But that I guess that's a good bit of business is trying to.
Yeah, you're building up because you don't have a lot of time because you basically have 6 days to build up a match for a pay-per-view, and this is the best thing they can do. Her win the number 1 contenders match, and then go after Asuka. Asuka. Wow.
All right.
If I had ended it on that, I would have been pissed.
Yeah. All right. We did have Retribution versus the Hurt Business in an actual match, and this match also ended via DQ. And there was like there was a melee after the match, and in the end, we actually
doesn't really matter.
It doesn't really matter, but we did have Drew McIntyre eating an RKO from the Viper Randy Orton, and I guess we're going to go back to the future. Earlier in the evening we did have a Drew McIntyre Keith Lee match. That match ended via DQ.
No, it's a lot of Dairy Queen matches on Monday, I guess.
Yeah. Basically, Randy Orton attacked, cut a promo saying, like, you really thought that I wasn't going to be able to make a championship match?
You really thought it wasn't a goat?
But basically, beyond that, Orton, when he cut his promo, talked about how, like, when he was in the ambulance on his way to the local medical facility. Hospital! It's a fucking hospital! He went to a hospital.
Local medical facility.
He went to a fucking hospital.
Just like you think
When he woke up, he ended up saying, like, I woke up with a smile on my face because I knew what I was capable of. And, you know, McIntyre ended up eating 2 RKOs this week, and Keith Lee ate a couple of skull punts, so I'm going to guess that Keith Lee will be off TV at least for, like, a day.
That's because
I mean, a skull punt, I mean, it's not as bad as, I guess, getting thrown off a building or possibly or dying.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 3 weeks later, AJ rose from the dead. The next day, Rey Mysterio and Aleister Black were perfectly fine for being thrown off the top of Titan Tower. But Drew McIntyre and Orton, you know, creating a little extra spice before their ambulance match. And I know you're not excited by the stiff, but
maybe Keith Lee needed what is it? Not a personal day. It's a mental health day because his girlfriend's going to be known as like Venom or Magma or some other stupid thing from the
right
thing, Urban Dictionary.
Yeah. Well, we'll find out.
So that was Raw.
SmackDown did something interesting this week. Instead of having a rematch, they had a pre-match where they had a triple threat between Sami Zayn, Jeff Hardy, and AJ Styles. Now, this was not for the title.
And to be fair, it was supposed to be Jeff Hardy versus AJ Styles, and the big mouth Sami Zayn got himself put into this match. So they made it a triple threat player.
And they did have ladders in the ring, and they're trying to hype up their match for tomorrow.
I'm not going to lie. I like the finish of it.
Yeah,
I love Sami Zayn as a heel. Sami Zayn is fantastic in that role.
And being an opportunist.
And the fact is, and I called it too. The worst part was I called it because I see AJ Styles. He's going to hit him with the freaking the phenomenal forearm. And, you know, Sami Zayn was in front and Hardy was behind him. I said, Sami Zayn's going to duck out. Styles is going to hit him. And then Sami Zayn's going to do the nefarious thing where he throws AJ Styles out of the ring and scores the pinfall. And that's exactly how the match ended. Sami Zayn needs a fucking haircut, though. I'm sorry. He needs a haircut. Get that man a barber or buy him some shears or something. That man needs a haircut.
There's a WWE Hall of Famer that'll cut his hair.
His name is Brutus Beefcake.
Yeah. But Sami going over here, but after the match, then they start kind of beating the hell out of each other, and AJ Styles
brings the ladder into the
and apparently they're because I think they called it like a title ascension ceremony, but apparently they're going to have both titles a la
Shawn Michaels versus Ramon at WrestleMania 10.
So
I love the fact that they're doing that too. I'm excited for that match. I really am.
Honestly, I think I'm probably most hyped for that match. Good storyline, good storytelling, and these three, pardon the expression, are phenomenal in the ring.
And what
I know you don't love Jeff Hardy.
I love the fact that AJ Styles is like, I'm not a fan of ladders or climbing up them, but I will have to do what I have to do to win this match. And I'm like, all right, AJ, stop being a goat. You're so modest.
Right. So,
but I love watching Sami Zayn in the ring because Sami can go in the ring, and AJ Styles is the GOAT.
Right.
And Jeff Hardy is just a fucking douche.
But this match is tailor-made for the style of Jeff Hardy.
Oh, of course.
Wrestles. Crash and burn.
I'm not going to say that I'm not entertained. I'm not going to be entertained by the match. I'm going to be entertained by the match because I know that you and I and every other wrestling fan from the Attitude Era know that Jeff Hardy's going to do something fucking retarded on the top of that ladder, or it's in his thing. I just want to know if we're going to get, No More Tears or whatever the hell the name of the song was.
We'll find it. It'll probably debut tomorrow. So
speaking of which,
re-debut.
Roman Reigns came out this week and said that at Clash of Champions, he's going to introduce a new theme song and a new look. He said
he's not going to have the vest
anymore, which is important because for the fact that at the end of the year, we're going to have our end of the year award show, and that man is going to win a Marquee Award for the 5th consecutive year, and I need him to still have that look or he loses the fucking thing.
If he cuts his hair, it will be less wet.
So you know what that means?
Somebody else.
It's probably going to end up being Miro. Like, no, Miro doesn't have
long hair. No, he doesn't have it anymore.
Oh, my God.
Dolph Ziggler still has longish
hair. He's got glorious hair, so it's not going to be him. Oh, I'm really going to
Speaking of glorious, where's Bobby Roode? Is he stuck in Canada?
He's actually, they were talking that Bobby Roode should be coming back very soon. They were saying that it could have been as early as this past Monday, but we should expect Bobby Roode to return to Monday Night Raw within the next couple of weeks.
Glorious.
And they kind of need help in the tag team division, so him and Dolph will probably tag team it up.
That would be nice. All right. So, I mean, the Roman segment was the main event, but you're already talking about Roman. Let's get into the Roman and Jey Uso saga. To me, this is my favorite storyline for the pay-per-view, and Roman here has been kind of bros with his family member here, but I'm sorry, Uso, his bro.
My favorite part about all of this was because Roman and Jey Uso had their little moment last week, and then Roman had like this look on his face. So Jay's been trying to get an answer from him about why he had that look. And Roman was like, he's like, you've done wonderful things in the tag team. And he's like, everybody respects you.
Tag team of the generation,
and the family loves you. And Jay goes, you know what? He goes, the difference between you and I, Roman? First of all, I love this promo that Jey Uso cut on last night. I fucking loved every second of it. And he was like, you know what I love about, he's like, you know what it is, the difference between you and I? He's like, everybody sees you and they see you as the big star. You're the head of the table. You were the head of the family and everything like that.
The tribal chief.
He goes, when my brother and I show up at things, people always ask us, which one is you? And I'm like, oh, man. I'm like, I've been thinking that for 10 years.
Yeah.
I still can't figure it out. I know one's like taller and 20 pounds heavier and everything like that.
Oh,
but it's like,
I think more recently, like the one that was heavier slimmed down.
Of course, just give us more of a reason to have a hard time. And it's like,
well, and they did the thing where they used to have different tattoos, but then they did a thing where they got the same tattoo. So
I'm on board with this. I think this is great. This was something completely unexpected. And we always complain about how WWE always does the same shit and it's very predictable. So the fact that we're getting Jey Uso versus Roman Reigns for the title is something so outside the box. And it's a great story, like you said.
Well, I mean, Retribution was outside the box, but it's just been a poorly told and sold story, whereas this is a very well told and great story. And
you know that Heyman's got his freaking hands in on this thing.
Oh, absolutely. But the part where like Roman more or less kind of talking down Jey Uso, saying like, dude, I love you, but like you're never going to be the tribal chief. I'm always going to be the man at the head of the table. And like Jay's kind of like head down, picks up the microphone, like going,
I'm going to win the title.
What if you're wrong? And
the two of them had that promo. And the problem with Roman,
and then they went off the air though.
With him eating a Superman punch and
Roman he just puts out one of my favorite little subtle things is he just put out his arm. expecting Paul Heyman to put the belt on him. It was just like, it wasn't asked for. He didn't look to him at all. He just,
It's
gets right in Jay's face and like, I will always be the tribal chief.
Love it.
So,
Love it.
but that's how they ended up ending SmackDown last night.
I loved every bit of that, what they've done and everything. But Roman needs to understand that everybody knows that the head of the table is somebody by the name of Dwayne. Will always be the head of the table in the Samoan family.
Well, one of the things that was actually spoken about this week is Rock said he would come out of retirement to go against Roman and had zero problem putting him over at WrestleMania. So we might get that match in the next couple of years.
Especially now, I love the way that freaking Roman is just the way that he's turning into this and everything. I love this. I want to see this.
But beyond that, at the start of this whole segment here, it was we had Alexa Bliss after she came under the Fiend's spell because like she was having a regular old match against Lacey Evans. Then Fiend's
like the music
and then she got crazy.
Yeah,
and
got disqualified because we haven't had a match end of the disqualification yet this week.
Right. So, but basically, as she was going up the ramp, she gave Roman a look, and that's specifically like going, "Hey, that's the Fiend's title." I
love the little subtle underlying aspect.
That's another great storytelling line.
Yeah.
I love that storyline too, but we're not going to get that match for a little bit, I think.
Another thing was Alexa Bliss did an interview earlier this week, and she had said that when the Wyatt family first came up, when she first came up to the main roster, she wanted to work with Bray Wyatt when he was doing that whole Wyatt family thing. So now that they're working together, now is just, I love this.
Yeah.
It's going
to be good.
Yeah, it's different.
So, all right. So we had Bayley cut a promo that was mostly about Sasha and not Nikki Cross, who is going against her. And like, obviously,
I don't care about Bayley. So go ahead.
But you know, it sucks that, you know, Nikki's getting this opportunity again, but getting brushed aside. I mean, it makes me think all right, is Sasha going to somehow get involved in this match and cause some sort of
chicanery?
Yeah. I mean, would they surprise us and have Nikki win and have Sasha be the one to cost Bayley the title?
I guess we'll just have to find out once we
get
to
a few minutes. So, one feud that I am not excited about, don't care about, but we keep on getting, and we're hopefully going to get the blow off to this stupid feud is
I know where you're going.
Cesaro and Nakamura versus the Lucha House Party. I mean, how many times do Nakamura and Cesaro have to beat them in tag team matches, in singles matches, and they still get a fucking title shot? Like,
it's unfortunate because two of the most important tag teams right now are in their own little storyline, which is actually better than the fucking tag team championship storyline because the whole Heavy Machinery and Miz and Morrison thing is much better than what's going on. And we all thought we were going to get that blow off too with the Miz and Otis with the whole Money in the Bank. And it's like, and then they found the loophole and all this shit. So this is going to carry on a little bit longer. I'm actually more excited for that one than I am for the tag team one because I just don't care about the Lucha House Party.
But so they had a match between Nakamura and Grand Metalik or Grand Metallica. And Nakamura wins. Again, why are Lucha House Party getting a title shot? They had multiple members lose to Cesaro, multiple members lose to Nakamura. They got like one cheap victory, I think, during this whole time, and they lost a tag team match to them. I mean, they don't deserve a title shot.
One underlying aspect
I can't wait till this is done.
Was after Metalik lost the match to Nakamura last night, Lindsay Dorado and freaking Kalisto looked like they were going to get in the ring, but Kalisto was like, no, I'm called an audible, and Cesaro took out freaking Grand Metalik, which led to like a friction amongst the ranks and the Lucha House Party. So I think we might not only just get an end to this feud, we're probably going to get an end to the Lucha House Party.
Right, or at least we'll have Kalisto like break off and
hopefully
get drafted.
Hopefully he'll get one of those wonderful moments where he can't cut a promo to save his life.
All right, this moment right here is not something that leads to Clash of Champions, but I'm
Like 13.
Baron Corbin beat
The bro.
cleanly.
The bro of bros who has broed more than bros have ever broed. Bro.
So I have in my notes here, what the fuck, bro? Like,
I see what you did there. I see what you did there.
Yeah.
I like it. I love it.
but
I
like,
like it a lot.
I know that you can't have Corbin lose absolutely every match. He's going to completely lose credibility. But like after they had the pay-per-view match a few weeks ago, all right, end of storyline. Original bro goes over. Move on,
Bro.
But no, they continue this. And now whatever you were starting to build with the original bro, like back to 50-50 fucking booking. Fucking bullshit. So, and before we get into pay-per-view predictions, I'm just going to quickly touch on this. I love that Kyle O'Reilly next week is going to be going against Finn Balor at TakeOver.
I love that too. I also wanted, there was another thing about NXT this week I really wanted to touch base on because NXT was tremendous this week. It really was. They threw us that super curveball with Kyle O'Reilly winning the 5-person elimination gauntlet of death match that nobody saw coming. And I love the fact that him and Roderick Strong and Adam Cole, baby, had their moment after Kyle O'Reilly got the victory. Another part I wanted to bring up, which I enjoyed thoroughly, was the Women's Battle Royal to determine the number one contender for Io Shirai, where they had all the people. And it's like, and the way that they were booking it, it's like Raquel Gonzalez and Rhea Ripley were basically just eliminating everybody out of the way. So I was like, oh, this is what they're going to do. They're going to have the two of them eliminate everybody, and then they're going to have that final blow-off, and it's going to be between the two of them. And I remember telling Nicole, I was like, I'd love for them to throw like some kind of a curveball here and have somebody like what's her face, Johnny Gargano's wife,
Candice LeRae.
Candice LeRae actually win it. I'm like, I would love to see something like that. And you know, with Casey Canizaro kind of having like a bunch
She had
of those
many moments as far as not getting eliminated.
I love that, and I was like, I hope this leads to her winning. I would love to see that happen. She didn't, but she definitely
did Candice LeRae.
She did improve her stock, and Candice LeRae eliminating Shotzi Blackheart the way she did, where she kind of like mule kicked her off the stairs. I was like,
yeah,
that was one of the best battle royals I've ever seen, and I loved every second of it. NXT was fantastic this week.
So
I
wanted to touch on those two things, and now we're going to get into Clash of Champions predictions.
Say it, 13.
13.
Clash of Champions 13.
Of the Champions 13.
No, it's Clash of Champions.
I know, but Clash of the Champions 13.
But that's the irony of it, because I'm saying 13 because it's Clash of Champions. Never mind. All right, predictions.
All right, Asuka is going against Zelina Vega, and that's part of the pre-show tomorrow. Asuka is winning this match, no doubt about it. But you know, Asuka needs opponents, and this is a fresh opponent, so
it's something different, and it's something we weren't expected. So I'm on board with it. But Asuka's gonna win this match.
Lashley is going against Apollo Crews for the U.S. title. Lashley's going to win this match, and I don't know if there'll probably be some. Hopefully he wins it clean, but I think there's going to be some post-match stuff, whether it's with Retribution and Slapjack and T-Bar and I-Bar and whatever
bar and Ice Pick and the Big Cat.
Raiden.
Yeah, Sub-Zero,
Bane,
Quiznos,
yeah, Poison Ivy. So yeah, Nakamura and Cesaro versus the Lucha House Party. Yeah, Nakamura and Cesaro, Lucha House Party.
Yeah,
can't wait for this to end.
Same.
Terrible. I can't tell you how unexcited I am for this match. I think the four performers will do their best.
I think you've already made that clear.
Another match that I'm not super excited about. Again, nothing against the performers. I'm sure they'll be fine. Street Profits versus Andrade and Garza. We've gotten this match plenty of times recently. We don't need it again. But, you know, it's Clash of Champions. All champions need to be
champions.
have a match. So, Street Profits.
Ooh, I'm going to differentiate with you. I'm going to go Garza and Andrade.
Okay. Even though they've been having issues?
Yep.
All right. The fact that they broke off, like seemingly broke off with Zelina Vega, I don't know. Maybe she will reappear with them, but all right. So that's that. All right. Women's tag team titles, Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler going against the Riot Squad.
Going here, man. Give me the Riot Squad.
All right. I am going to go with Nia and Shayna.
I could.
I understand. Are you going to go on your Nia rant?
No. Okay. I'll say that for next week when they win.
All right.
If they win.
All right. We have Bayley going against Nikki Cross. And one of the things we brought up a few minutes ago was, will Sasha Banks get involved? So
I think the ultimate swerve is if Sasha comes out and helps Bayley win the match.
And I could see that happening. Ernest the Cat make 3 separate run-ins in honor of Clash of the Champions 13. That would be funny. Or the Big Cat.
It'd be funnier if like Primetime Brian Lee showed up.
Right. Right.
Can't be the Z-Man, unfortunately. Rip.
So Bayley versus Nikki Cross, and does Sasha get involved in what do you think?
I'm going to say Bayley wins the match, and then Sasha comes out at the end and beats the shit out of her.
To
get rid of retribution.
I 100% agree because Sasha will want to win the women's title. She doesn't want to help Nikki Cross win this match.
Correct.
So, yeah. All right. Triple threat for the Intercontinental title. There will be 2 titles held above the ring. And I'm wondering, they could have some fuckery here.
I was just thinking the exact same thing, where like Sami Zayn and Jeff
AJ
Hardy,
or Jeff Hardy
both come down with a belt,
and then come Survivor Series, have a rematch or Halloween Havoc.
Right.
I just want.
I know you did. It's all good.
So, my original pick for this was AJ Styles, but I almost want to now
pick Jeff Hardy and Sami Zayn to fucking do some.
Or even if it's AJ and Jeff or AJ and Sammy. Like, I know that AJ stood tall at the end of this, and I know Sammy got the cheap victory.
So basically, with all the years of wrestling that you and I,
I'm going to stick with AJ, but like
always go with your, especially when it comes to betting. And my father will tell you the same thing. Always go with your first instinct.
So that's what I'm going to go with. But I think it would be very, very interesting if they had each coming down with one title, and it's like, well, which title is the title that Jeff has, which, according to storyline, is the legit one. But apparently they're thinking it's legit enough to have Sammy with his title.
Ooh, Chris Brown says it's going to be AJ as well.
All right. Boom.
I'm going with the fuck finish.
All right. I mean, I like that idea.
Somehow, some way, all 3 of them are going to come down with their hands on at least 2 of the belts each. I can just see it.
Yeah.
It's going to be some kind of fuck. I don't even circle, just put fuck finish for me. That's what I'm predicting. Golly, it's fucking coming down.
That's what she
It's
said.
raining cats and dogs. Get it, Petey? It's raining cats. Never mind.
All right. Then we have Drew McIntyre versus Randy Orton in an ambulance match. I'm predicting pain. Oh, wait. I am actually predicting Randy Orton to get his 4th World Heavyweight Championship.
14.
I said 14.
You said 4.
Pretty sure I said 14. If I said 4, then I brainless one myself.
Yes. I'm agreeing with. I think it's going to be Randy gets the victory.
All right. And then we have Roman Reigns against Jey Uso. I think we all know who's going to win this match, but I love the storyline. I love the build up to this.
They're going to have a great match, and I'm sure the 2 of them have wrestled a bunch of times over the years, whether it's in like their grandfather or their uncles or their parents or whatever, it's living room or anything like that. Where Rikishi was the referee and The Rock was smelling what everybody was cooking and all that shit. I think this is going to be a very good match. I think they're They have the chance to steal the show tomorrow night, and I have no problem saying that, especially with Roman Reigns being.
And I think Roman wants to put Jay, like, even though he's not going to go over and win the title, I think he wants to put him over and give him a rub of, like.
If you don't think that Roman Reigns had any kind of input on Jey Uso getting this match,
Oh, he absolutely did.
Then you really don't understand WWE.
And honestly, you know what I want to see after this, based off the storyline that they've been doing, is I want the next contender to go against Roman Reigns to be Big E.
I want it to be Jimmy Uso, if he's healthy.
I think it needs to be Big E. I don't think Jimmy's going to be healthy for a while. I think his surgery. That's why they have Jay in this storyline, because Jimmy ain't coming back soon. But personally, my belief is Big E, storyline wise, got screwed out of the title shot, and you know, they could put this into the storyline. The reasoning behind getting screwed out of the title shot is they saw him as the biggest threat out of that, you know, fatal four-way.
Right.
Get him out of the way, and after Roman wins the match, next contender, Big E. Hey, he beat Sheamus, and he wants retribution.
And Clash of the Champions 13.
So that would be my hope for the next title defense for Roman Reigns after this. So, but so that's the card for Clash of the Champions.
Okay.
13. All right. Good, bad, and brainless.
There's so much good this week.
There was an awful lot of good, and I'm going to stick with what we're talking about. Basically every little nook and cranny of this Roman Reigns Jey Uso storyline, including the involvement of Alexa Bliss in this, ties together multiple storylines while also telling a story about family and like. All right, you could still be bros, but like one dude, like I'm the head of the whole thing, and I love everything about this. So that's my good for this week.
My good for this week goes to NXT, just NXT in general. Between the battle royal that they have for the number one contendership, where they had Candice LeRae actually win it, and the way that she won it was actually cool. You know, Casey Canizaro was, in my opinion, like the underdog who really put a spotlight on herself and can kind of establish herself, but also Kyle O'Reilly being the one that gets the number one contendership for the championship next week for TakeOver. So I'm giving NXT the W this week, and they're going to get my good.
All right. Chris Brown chiming in saying he heard that Miro's AEW wasn't exactly looked upon favorably by the guys in the locker room. Like, are you talking about specifically Miro's performance? Because like we talked about it a little earlier, how it like there were so many botches in that match, and like, was it Miro's fault? Was it Sonny Kiss's fault, or Joey Janela's? I don't know.
You also got to remember the guy has been out of work since April, so he's going to have a lot of rust. I mean, this is September. We're 5 months later.
But I don't know what the unfavorable. If the unfavorable views on Miro, it's like on. There are some people who like say, "Oh, right, well, it was a bad match." Hulk Hogan for several years had one match, and it didn't matter if it was a great match. It mattered that the crowd was into him. The crowd is into Miro, so I almost think that it doesn't matter as long as he's over.
Not a clusterfuck. So yeah, it's going to take time. I mean, he's been out of action for like 6-7 months now. If you think about it, I don't remember the last time he actually appeared in a match for WWE but he was basically during the Bobby Lashley storyline. And it's like he got released in April, and he's been out of wrestling since then. And, you know, so he's got a little bit of rust on him. So he's going to have to work the kinks out.
But it might not have been him. It could have been the other performers' issues. So, all right, bad for this week. I'm going with the fact that, like, I know that they're trying not to have anybody get pinned, I guess. There were like 20 DQ finishes. What the fuck?
Why do I get a feeling we're going to have the same brainless?
I didn't like all the DQ finishes. There are different, more creative ways of doing things than this. So I'm gonna, I don't think we're gonna have.
There's two words that we have to use for our brainless. So yeah.
I might switch. I'll switch up my brainless just so we're not the same. But
Jay, we can agree on the brainless because
okay, we have. I mean, yeah.
It's got to have. I mean, it's the most important thing. For me, the bad for this week is.
I mean, my alternate for brainless would have been what happened with Matt Riddle this week, but
for me, the bad's going to be what we were just talking about, where the Rusev thing just looked really clunky, and between that match with him and Sonny Kiss and Joey Janela, and he teamed up with Kip Sabian, and it's like the guy has been out of action for about 6 months. He's going to have to knock the rust off of it. I remember he had a match with Daniel Bryan, and it looked kind of clunky when he had that match with Daniel Bryan had just come back from retirement. So I'm going to say that's my bad, just because it was just bad wrestling, and all 4 people that were involved in that match need to do a better job of getting better at what they had to do. And our brainless for this week, I think we both are going to agree with
1, 2, 3, Slapjack. What the fuck?
Slapjack and T-Bar and Mace, and just the whole Retribution thing is just completely brainless. You had a wonderful. It's basically like you said, like how they did 2 different things building up, like the storyline with the Uso and Roman Reigns, which was done perfectly. I look at what they did with Retribution is like they had this cake. They baked this cake, and the cake was wonderful, and it was going to be delicious. And they dropped the cake, and then as they dropped the cake, they didn't realize it slipped and fell into the fucking cake, and the giant.
And then, what ended up happening is they added Cleveland Steamer,
and they shit all over the cake.
Yeah.
So they had a chance, and now all these poor people who are part of Retribution are going to have these stupid masks and these stupid names, and it's like they're going to have a giant hill to climb that they will never be able to. And I don't think.
Well, I'm not going to say that none of them can get out of this. They'll have to change their name and come up with something different. Not be the ringmaster.
They just have to be themselves. Let them be themselves. Let them be Donovan Dijakovic. Let them be Dio Madden. Let it be Shane. Shane Thorne's going to, in my opinion, Shane Thorne's going to have the hardest job out of all of them, even though he's not named after what you do when you ejaculate in your hand and slap somebody in the face with it. It's the fact that he is Mace and he has a fucking paper plate mask, and I'm like, he's basically
he red roostered himself.
He red roostered himself, and he's going to be future endeavored at some point. Sorry, I'm not sorry.
Sad.
Anyway, so if you like what you've seen today, whether you're a first-time watcher or somebody who has tuned in on a regular basis, make sure you like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Periscope. Follow us on Instagram and subscribe to us on YouTube at the letter T, the letter H, the letter E, the letter F, the letter N, MARKS, the F and Marks. If you like, follow, subscribe to us, we will do the same thing back. That's always been our motto.
Yeah, and we are live each week on the All Elite Marks page. Obviously, we also talk mostly WWE, but we talk AEW and a little bit of all the other wrestling that's gone on. So make sure you set up the notifications for when we are live, that you could get notified and tune in and join us so we can talk wrestling every week live.
And that is facebook.com/alleelitemarks now.
And and next week we will have our prediction show for NXT TakeOver 31. That obviously they put a couple of takeovers very close together, and I don't know why they did that. I don't know if it's specifically their taping schedule. And speaking of taping schedule, both AEW and the WWE Performance Center right now are kind of under quarantine because there was actually kind of an outbreak of COVID-19, and they're basically right now sanitizing everything they can. I don't think it's impacted any of the matches for next week.
Impact. I see what you did there. Good job, Governor. Can I change my pick? Can Governor DeSantis get my bad for this week for the fact that he's going to open up the state of Florida?
I mean, if you want to, but just I guess that overrides Slapjack.
No, Slapjack was brainless. I said DeSantis gets my bad.
Okay.
I will not. There's no fucking way that the Retribution was not going to get my brain. Like, I saw the masks and the names, and I went, "Oh yeah, this is fucking brainless." Somebody would have to kill somebody that overtake this as my brainless for the week.
So we have that going on, and Lance Archer confirmed that he has coronavirus, and kind of sounds like Brian Cage may have it as well.
And Chelsea Green as well for NXT.
So we'll obviously prayers for them for speedy recovery, and they're young folks who I don't believe are immunocompromised, so they should get over this, and hopefully we'll see them back in a couple weeks. And so hopefully everybody stays safe. If WWE needs to, maybe hold the takeover in the Amway Arena.
Yep.
So, all right. So I think that's it.
Wait. There's one more thing.
What would that be, Brainless One?
That's because today, September 26th of 2020, after astonishing 1,878 days, FM March Hall of Famer Kyle Tackle is still alive in the 2015 Royal Rumble.
Yeah!
It's a shame Tommy wasn't here for that.
I know. He was here for so much of the time.
So anyway, for episode 193 of the FM March podcast,
I'm Jay.
and I am the brainless one. Make sure you mark up
with your clock out. And for the Brainless One, this was I think you only had 2 minorly brainless slips. I had more brainless.
You brainless yourself.
More times than you
I
did.
didn't throw the perfect game today like I was hoping to, but I ruined that like in the 3rd inning. You got shelled.
I did, but heck, man, you kind of threw a shutout. So that's pretty good. So, all right, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Enjoy Clash of Champions 13, and we will catch you next week.
Yeah.